The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh. Got my hustle on, no imitation of bad. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heartthrob in my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too feeble and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
First Week Podcast coming to you Tuesday, January 14th, 2025. Of course, online every Tuesday. We do it with the man, Kyle, S&I. And by the way, man, God, I miss GW
is TWLI. Oh, if you miss him that much, you could do it without being out-rapped with that name there by a white guy, but that's cool.
Granted, we talk to him all the time, though, on text.
We do text him.
I just miss him on the medium. So, Kyle, what's up?
By the way, how'd Penn State do? GWS, TWLI.
Did he pick
Of course he did. He's a Penn State homer, bro.
Okay. I don't remember talking about them much in the game, to be honest with you. But.
Well, yeah, because he was probably scared that they were going to be exposed like Janet Jackson in a halftime show.
True. If we get started, I want to. We were talking before we got on the air about analyzing our team. Like we doing this medium now. I mean, I've been doing this now for almost 15 years. You even longer. And we were discussing about how when we cover the sport of football or basketball, anything we do, we always have our personal favorite teams we root for. But
every sports person does, right?
Mostly, I would say.
No. Every sports person does. It's the ability to supplant it, because if they got into a sport, the gateway drug to covering a sport in general is to have a team to follow.
True,
right?
Fair point. Yeah. But we were discussing about how do you balance analyzing your team, for example, versus analyzing what is truth. And there's folks in the media, or even people doing what we do on this kind of thing, that have a hard time balancing the two. And I said that you and I do a really good. I would think do a really good job of being honest about our teams while not being complete homers. Like we love our teams. Like you're a Niners fan in football. I'm a Giants fan.
Try talking to Richard Sherman 2 or 3 weeks after he did the whole Crabtree is a sorry receiver speech.
And then having to
the NFLPA meetings, and here he comes traipsing in his name. By the way, This is obviously well before Richard Sherman, the 49er, was ever even
Of course. Yeah. You interviewed him like a week or two later, didn't you?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, right. So, no, but
my first, not just interview, my first video interview.
Right. That too.
Was with him.
Yeah.
Which you could probably still find on Pro Player Insider's YouTube channel. Shouts to my guy Demosthenes Euclid, who actually produced, or rather edited that presentation.
Shout out to Demos. Yeah. But yeah,
the now married Demosthenes Euclid. Anyway, continue.
That's right.
Whatever. Hilarity by default. Required viewing. There you go.
That's right. No, so like I would say you and I I would say, in my opinion, do a pretty good job in balancing that. And like to the point where sometimes you may forget that we are fans of those teams, because we don't cover our teams in the same way as a fan. Like in a way, like, okay, well, if the Giants are bad, they're bad. I'm going to acknowledge that. If the Niners are bad, the Niners are bad, and you do a good job of that. There's a lot of people who don't do the same.
First of all, generally speaking, here's what's different with you, and I think this, because we've seen this fan, we know who it is, and actually we've seen Huddle Up's Matthew Muehlheisen actually do this sort of thing when he does picks, and you manifest it on a larger level. Your level of fanhood is you overcommit to bashing your team. Like the best analogy I can think of is my dad used to not only officiate high school and kiddie football, but he also used to do that. He also used to do high school softball,
right?
As well. So there was one time I was in Cub Scouts. It was just a kickball game, and they asked my dad to ump. And when I got to the dang, when I got to kick, there was a close play at first. I beat it. In my mind, it wasn't close. He called me out because just the propriety, the appearance of impropriety was in his head. And I think that's what applies to you. You are so critical of your team that they make you kind of angry about it when anything goes wrong. And in case you're wondering, that's where the whole Cowboy fan thing started, which then evolved to you having 47 teams and all this.
I always thought that
that's where it started.
I always thought it evolved because of me being a Tony Romo apologist, which I was for a long time.
That may have been kind of a catalyst to put it in that direction. I could definitely see a scenario in Christ. What would it be like anywhere between 10 to 7 years ago now that I don't know. How long has Dak been in the league? I've already forgotten.
Well, he started 2016 was his first year as a starter.
So what I say, 10 to 7 years ago?
So right in the middle. Take the other. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I say all the up to say it would make perfect sense in a Giants versus Cowboys game in a year where the Giants may not have been doing too bad at the time.
Right.
That you're critical of them in a close game, and we're all like, Tony Romo, like you were. And I don't blame you. He's a handsome guy. But then at that point, I can see, and again, I don't remember the exact moment. I just know that's how we got there. Right. And like, it would make sense that over super fan focused critical of the Giants and propping Romo to where I would have, as a joke, said, blah, blah, Cowboys fan. And here we are damn near a decade later doing the same shit.
and I get all that. Well, here's the thing, though. Like, we say that, and there's some truth to what you're saying there. But at the same time, though, the track record. So I've been doing this podcast 14 years. Okay, the first year I started doing this podcast, the Giants won their last Super Bowl. Okay, this is before I met you, though. I know you at the time, though, but they won the Super Bowl the first year. Okay,
yes,
Zach will
you
tell
had
you
not been enlightened to what real football
analysis is. I was, and look, those are old episodes, though. I was a bit of a homer back then too, also a little bit of a homer. But I also knew
when has been the most homer air quotes that I've been. It was when they made it to the Super Bowl. Most recently, the Niners were 1 minute away from supplanting Patrick LeVon Mahomes in second. What was that? Correct. Super Bowl 58, I think.
Last year, in fact. Mm-hmm. So, but the last 13 years, after that Super Bowl, they made the playoffs twice. Okay, so it sort of makes sense that I would be critical and be pessimistic, because even those 2 years when they made the playoffs in 2016 and then 2 years ago in 2022, I was overcritical because I saw things that, okay, yeah, it's playing well, but there's always a but.
But see, you keep leaning into it like a Cowboys fan does, that the Cowboys are going to do well, thus the confusion.
But I'm being proven right, though, in the end, though.
What? Bro, you said the Cowboys are going to be good this year, and where are we? What do you mean proven right? Just like them Browns and Jets.
The Cowboys have been a better team than the Giants last 13 years.
No, you're moving close. That's not what was said.
Oh, okay. What are you saying then?
I said the reason why people mistake you for a Cowboys fan is you keep hyping them for the playoffs like a Cowboys fan. Think of it this way. It's the way Huddle Up CEO Big Jim Neese manifests his Cowboys fanhood, in that he's come to accept that awful is his way of life. Is that what you're saying? Is that the Giants fan that you are? That's my premise.
I mean, I guess when it's, I mean, I see your point, though. It's just I assess the team as who they are, and not what I want them to be. Obviously, I have opinions about how I want them to be going forward, but
let me land the plane this way.
Go ahead.
Because how many years? There were at least 2 or 3 in a row where we would be previewing the season, and sure enough, you could set your watch to Kyle, the student of the game, me, having an 8-8 prediction for the Giants, because they were just so fucking unpredictable.
Exactly.
You always trended downward.
Yeah.
That's my point.
6-10, 7-9. Not quite 3-13 bad, but I would say like they probably go under, 7, what I said there. But
I'm not here to say you ever said below 5 games, but my point is, against somebody who's objectively meaning I'm not a fan of the Giants, I can't think of the last Giants player that gave me warm and fuzzy feelings per se. I mean, I loved the combination of earth, wind, and fire. I always thought Tiki was frustrating until he fixed his fumble problems.
Yep.
And then he started talking and got frustrating.
Yeah.
You know.
And he's still talking
so
on CBS. No, he's still talking on CBS. So
no,
Odyssey.
Anyways.
Yeah. So
Odyssey. Anyways.
All I'm saying is that I think you and I do a decent job of covering our teams in a fair manner. I can't say the same for a lot of people in our lives. Just saying that. You know who you are, guys. You know who you are.
Wow, those are fighting words, especially for somebody who's
Irish. What I said. And if what this a podcast is saying, who me? You're probably right. I won't say anything, but that's all I'm gonna say about that. All right, so we
wow,
we have now. Hey, it is what it is. Welcome to Speaking Podcast. So we are now officially past Super Wildcard Weekend.
That's so dumb. What super? The fuck is super about it? You added a game we don't need. Anyways, go ahead.
Or two games, really.
Fair. I mean,
at a spot, right? At a spot, yeah.
Okay.
True.
Yes, thank you, Helpy McHelper. Tim.
That's why they made it super, because for that reason. Which again, I feel two ways about it, and you and I both.
I feel one way about it. It's some dumb bullshit. Now, that being said,
is it good for products?
We've had this conversation. This is uniquely the best year to have a 17 playoff because there was just so much competition at a high level.
Yeah. So, quick takeaways. As you know, every two also we started last week. Also, letter grades for the non-playoff teams. We'll get to letter grades for the losing teams this weekend. Quick takeaways. First off, Chargers Texans upset. It is an upset for the record. Chargers were favored to win that game on the road, and they were not just.
You can't. I hear where you're going because you're a degenerate. You're going to look at it that way. But for those of us that actually analyze sport and not losing money, as you and our friend Zach the Degenerate often do.
He says hi, by the way. I saw him last night.
Oh, hey, great, man. No, I'm looking forward to the next pod with him. Seriously, I talk all this shit, but it's the Wyatt Earp corollary of I never stole a horse from a man I didn't like. It's that anyway. Wyatt Earp has a corollary now. Apparently, there we go. Mm-hmm. No, but the crap. You knocked me off center. Where the fuck were we?
So that's what we do. What was
Chargers
and Texans?
There it is.
Yeah.
I can't look at it as an upset. I can't look at it as an upset when the road team loses in a playoff format.
Okay.
That being said, I see the defense. Like look at the example where there's a 14-win team going home at the hands of a 10-win team, and a 12-win team is on the road, but it's still an upset. It's weird. I get it. But yeah, no, I get it. The degenerates say it's an upset. That definitely had the feeling that the Chargers were going to win that football game, and then Herbert did. I don't know what analysis you need other than that. You can't turn the ball over like that. And, here come the pitchforks for Justin Herbert. And I know that some people are putting their political agenda into it, but the real reason you don't see as much criticism of Herbert has more to do with him being on the West Coast than it does the, shall we say, hue of his skin. But now that he's officially 0-2 and people who hate Trevor Lawrence see him have fewer playoff wins than Trevor Lawrence, it's starting to be let's say analyzed more and attacked more.
It's really more about the trends coming to the playoffs. Houston was not, we said all year long, they underwhelmed this year, and it wasn't for them playing the AFC South, they might probably miss the playoffs. Who knows?
I mean, can you think of another division that the Houston Texans would win in the entire NFL?
I really can't,
because it's not the NFC South. Maybe the AFC East, but they wouldn't beat the Bills, so no.
Right, exactly. So
the only reason they did beat the Bills in the regular season was because Josh Allen was concussed.
Yeah.
So nobody wants to talk about that.
Still a strange game, nonetheless, that game. But no, it was a trend more than anything else. But I think Houston, and by the way, I didn't see one person in national media, in what we do, anything else, picking the Texans to win that game whatsoever. That's why I call it an upset, because the trends
even Texans media was nervous about it because they were like, hey, we're the better team until we beat ourselves. And to be honest, I don't think that's incorrect. Listen, Lad McConkey's great and everything. He's wonderful for Keegan Michael, not a Keegan Michael Key. It is Keegan Michael Key. That does the Aaron substitute teacher pronunciation guy.
Yes,
it's great for him to do that. I saw that clip on Rich Eisen, whatever. but he is not enough by himself.
Correct.
To do the job. Quentin Johnston, and Justin Herberted. As much as people want to say Lamar Demetrius Jackson is a problem in the playoffs, no, the correct answer is Justin Herbert, right?
Yeah, we'll get that in a second. But yeah,
more on that later.
All right, next game. Took away from the Steelers Ravens. Ravens advance in dominant fashion. Your thoughts?
You know, people try to tell me that the Steelers should be embarrassed. Nobody should be embarrassed by getting run all over by Derrick Henry because he's Derrick fucking Henry. Okay.
That dude is some
God. I'm serious, man. Listen, Ryan Reynolds, if you're listening, if you're doing another Deadpool movie, you need to cast this motherfucker as Juggernaut now. Okay. Yeah, listen, if the only air quotes downside that I see is these next two teams in presumably the Bills and the Chiefs that are going to face them, no Derrick Henry is coming. Granted, they probably knew that anyway, but the next two teams that the Ravens face both have solid defensive tackle cores. I don't know that the Steelers had that the same way, and I think they had injury issues up front like that too. And I love TJ Watt, but he was asked to do entirely too much. And then when Derrick Henry got to the second and third level there, and we just simply, denied Minkah Fitzpatrick access, Right. I mean, again, I even Minkah will tell you that he don't have the advantage in that pairing, man. Shoot.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that the Ravens controlled the game the way that they did. Even when I had Jeff Hartman on last week of Fans First Sports Network and Steel Curtain Network on the Student of the Game podcast, he had said that controlling the line of scrimmage was an essential element to the game, more than most football games.
Yeah. All right. What about the takeaway from the Bills and Broncos? Bills advance, as always.
I mean, what was it I said? Is that the biggest difference in competition for the week was that game? Like, I thought the most assured victory was the Bills, and I feel like I was proven correct. But Kyle, the score differential was bigger in the Chargers game. Yeah, that shit was thrown away. That was not an actual competition.
By the way, I went on your show last week to preview that game, and it played out exactly the way I told you, that the game would be competitive for the first 2.5 quarters. Broncos were within distance. So
it wasn't competitive for 2.
But it really wasn't. It never felt that Buffalo was lose that game. But they were down by 1 score in the third quarter still. And then what I say?
Was it
quarter,
really?
Yes,
yeah,
it was.
I guess it was.
That's what I'm saying. And then they'll pull away in third quarter and fourth and beyond. They played exactly like I said.
I felt like, and credit, by the way, credit to the Broncos defense with that being the case. I felt like I kind of forgot that it was that way for that long.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. It was like literally it was like 10-3 halftime score. 10-7.
Yeah.
No, it was 10-7 halftime. And then
I forgot it was that close at half.
Yeah, right. And then it was like 13-7 for a good part of the third quarter, and then Buffalo pulled away. So there you go.
Yeah. I mean, the young team started getting the lemon booty, and
Exactly. Takeaways, Packers, Eagles.
Boy, I picked the Packers for that, and as the kids say, it was all about vibes. I had acknowledged that was a risky pick, and the moment that the Packers fumbled away the opening kickoff, I knew I had picked the wrong team. I don't want to earn Eagles fans' ire. I don't know what it is, but it's hard for me to get excited about this Eagles team. It just is. They're balanced on offense. Their offensive line is still okay, not horrid. They're okay. Their defense is incredibly dominant. And I think that was the biggest issue in this football game, frankly.
I'll be honest with you, like, if it wasn't for that kickoff return turnover, that's probably a different game. And I'm not even absolving Jordan Love.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I meant by the vibes thing. Like, the moment that happened, again, another young team in the Packers just melts away.
Yeah. I thought Green Bay's defense played phenomenal in that game, all considering.
They really did. And the other problem being you lost 2 linemen in the middle of that beast too. The game's over. But 2 starting linemen, that's a blow, especially in a playoff game, especially against the defensive front, the likes of the Eagles. And like I said, I'm propping the Eagles the way I am to make it clear. I don't have a good reason in my head why I don't Maybe it's just because they're not the Lions, Maybe it's just because, I have more confidence in them than I did the Vikings, right? Which, more on that later. But, I'm not convinced the Eagles, for example, necessarily take down a frisky Rams team. I'm not necessarily, but let's say they were playing the Red Tails. That could go a certain way too, depending. Yeah, I get it.
They play very well.
I get it that the Red Tails beat an Eagles team that didn't have their starting quarterback. I'm not trying to say that that's the basis of my decision or analysis, but there's something with the Eagles. And again, I think it's just at this level, at this point in the playoffs, the pendulum swings wide for them. I could see them just as likely making, maybe even winning the Super Bowl as much as being eliminated next week. I don't think there's a middle ground.
Absolutely.
They're tough to analyze to me.
And I'll be honest with you, I'd be a little concerned next week. I'm an Eagles fan. I might pick them to win the game next week, most likely, but I wouldn't be. That's not a guarantee. We'll get that in a second, but yeah, I'd be a little concerned that you're going to put a Green Bay team who was already coming in the game limping anyway. And yeah, they covered the spread and all this good stuff, but Green Bay was in that game. They were in that game. They were one score down in the fourth quarter. So just saying, if I'm an Eagles fan, I'm not as like, oh my God, I'm feeling good about next week. Calm down just a little bit. All right. Commanders, Bucks, game of the weekend, obviously. Go.
Called it.
Right? Well, I
yeah, we both had the Commanders. We both had Mayfielding in some fashion, which isn't to say he had a bad football game, but it turned on one mistake, and it was a mistake late in the game when Jaden Daniels does what he does. Like, I'm not trying to call him Tim Tebow, that he only operates well in the fourth quarter. I mean to say that's when his level raises after 3 solid quarters of play to keep him in the game and keep it close, right?
Yeah. Jaden Daniels' composure is amazing. I'm so impressed with that kid's composure. Like, he looks like a veteran's been there like 5-6 years already. That's the thing that stands out to me more than anything else.
If he gets Rookie of the Year, I'm not mad at it. You could also make a case for other players, but yeah.
At this point, I don't know why it's even an argument. I mean, the guy.
Well, actually, if you listen to the Student of the Game NFL Awards, I think we both, Mikey Bird and I, give you an argument.
If you're saying, look, I understand Bowers being in a conversation because the numbers are phenomenal. I understand Bo Nix to some extent too as well. But you look at a guy that took a team that was 4-13 last year, gets in there, went 12-5. Okay, and now won a playoff game in the same fashion as C.J. Stroud. And I could argue this is more impressive than C.J. Stroud did last year.
First of all, the answer to your first question is yes, I believe it is. B, no disrespect to Stroud, by the way.
No, I'm not doing that either. But
B, the fact that you said what you said proves you don't pay enough attention to my coverage, and that's the only clue I'm going to give you as to who you're leaving out of this conversation.
You didn't say Bowers, did you?
I did not say Brock Bowers.
Yeah, somebody else. I can't remember exactly who you said, though. Because I heard the episode last week after we got off the air, so for the record.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Just letting you know. I just forgot who it was. But I know there was a back and forth with you and Mike about that one. Anyway, we'll call it later.
And listen, right. If I say the initials and I take the T out, it's something you like a lot. BTJ.
Who is it?
Brian Thomas Jr.
Thomas Jr. Right? Yeah. No, and you'd be wrong. It's still
no, you're wrong.
Jane
you
Daniels.
Some bitch. Listen, this is you looking at numbers again and not caring about how they're made. A guy that got what he got, we'll leave out him being snubbed from the Pro Bowl and yet somehow making the All-Pro team. Separate question.
I'm looking at numbers. I'm looking at culture.
This dude has numbers with McCorkle Jones at quarterback for 8 games. That matters.
I got it, but I'm looking at numbers and culture and when.
No, you're not. You're looking only at numbers. Period.
No, I'm not.
If you're not picking BTJ, you're looking only at numbers.
I'm looking at culture and looking at wins and losses. 12-5. Commanders.
If you're looking at culture, again, that hands it to BTJ because the culture in Jacksonville sucks. Okay. And he's still getting numbers.
Okay, I get it. We'll agree to disagree on that one, but I get it. I totally get it.
I can't hear you over the sound of you capitulating how wrong you are there,
Claudia. Yeah. Wow. Last game, Vikings.
I even Dr. Coxed you on that one.
Yeah, I know you did. Wrong. No, last game, Vikings, Rams last night. Your takeaway.
Didn't we say that game was scary? But I didn't expect a damn blowout. Good God, Vikings. Is it something in the water?
It's so the Rams defense, number one, is just stuff than most anything else.
We had that conversation last week, did we not?
And for the record, Rams defense ranked 26 this year. What the fuck was that?
Well, okay. It depends on the stat, right?
Yeah.
If they're going by yards,
overall DVOA, I think it was
cool.
the stat.
Not to mention, there's 2 halves to a year. So much youth on that team. They grew up fast.
True.
Man. What do you want?
Yeah, and they were impactful. Like Sam Darnold couldn't even breathe last week.
I think it's funny. I talk about growing up fast. For those that are listening to the podcast, I talk about growing up fast, and then I realize I lift up my coffee mug that says "Best dad ever."
No, Sam Darnold. I'm not putting it on him at all because I thought he's part of the problem last night. But the O-line played like fucking garbage last night.
Did the O-line play garbage, or is this defense
9 sacks? 9 sacks.
I retort the question. I repeat the question. Now, granted, obviously they got worked, but you know
that being said, though, I think Darnold cost us a lot of money last night, though.
Oh God, that's a great point by you, actually. Yeah.
Well, more on it later. We'll cover in a second.
It increases the likelihood of you being a fan that might have an actual quarterback for the first time since Eli Manning, or not.
Don't do that. We're not doing that shit. That's a short deal. No, we're not doing that. All right, let's get to it. So all the eliminated teams of Wildcard Weekend, we're going to cover them as we do every week now, this time of year, and give them final grades. So first things first, the losing San Diego Superchargers. Yes, I said San Diego, who finished the year 11-6. Kyle.
No, the Los Angeles Chargers. We thought they would start out good and miss the playoffs. They made the playoffs. To me, I'm going to say A- overall. Harbaugh did Harbaugh things. It's going to be interesting to see what they do in the offseason. They're probably going to lose Khalil Mack. He's probably going to retire. I feel like if they can draft more assets on offense, I think they could do better. And they need to find a way to get Justin Herbert comfortable, or they're in big trouble.
I know we said this last year or 2 years ago, but I feel like we're revisiting a conversation we had 2 years ago on this podcast. But I think, and 2 years ago, I think you said that, no, we can't do that right now. That's too soon. But now we have 2 years later now.
Mm-hmm.
Is it time to revisit the Justin Herbert conversation about really good quarterback, certainly probably top 10 in the league, probably still, but that shit.
Here's the thing. And by the way, I don't fault anybody who is critical of Justin Herbert at this point. To your point, there's enough evidence gathered to top 10 doesn't bother me, but he's certainly not in the top 5 conversation. And I honestly don't remember if I ever put him in the top 5. And if I did at the time, it would have been all based on potential, which he has not unlocked.
Correct.
Yet.
That was 2 years ago.
What we have to remember are the assets that he lost heading into the season.
Correct.
And everybody seems to have forgotten about that. And that's fine, you know. But again, this isn't me giving Justin Herbert a pass. Like with any team, if Herbert is well cared for, you're going to have a good year on offense. Otherwise, you aren't. I think the bigger disaster is defense moving forward. But like I said, give them a grade for what they did this year is an A-. They weren't supposed to make the playoffs. Right. They're in a division with Patrick LeVon Mahomes II. They somehow got to the playoffs in a division that sent 3 teams. That means you have 3 at least solid, if not outright good football teams in your division. Now, granted, there were other factors that moved things along. The AFC South is completely kerplunked into the ocean. Joey Burr, dealing with injury. He didn't miss games, but he was dealing with injury, and that defense was terrible, taking themselves out of the playoff picture. Tua getting hurt also helped propel them and the Broncos in. There's a lot of teams in the AFC, I'm not going to say inordinate, but a lot of teams that normally perform that didn't as much this year, right?
Mm-hmm. I had number 9 coming to the year.
Yeah, so I mean, some people out there thought they would do worse than the Jets.
Not me. Well, slightly.
Yes,
worse.
you.
So
yes, you. You had the Jets and the Browns in the playoffs ahead of them. Calm down.
So
calm down with your. I had a better bullshit. I don't want to hear it. You blew it.
Let me tell you why.
You blew it.
I get it. But let me tell you why I'm gonna be I'm gonna be able to brag a little bit here, a little bit, not much, but a little bit. Because okay, number one, I went B plus for the record.
Okay.
I said on this show, and I Huddle Up, and I got laughed at on Huddle Up when I said that this Chargers team can still make the playoffs because of Jim Harbaugh. And everybody said,
you did not get laughed at.
It's on record. It's on record. Mikey B laughed at my ass. Jimmy, I will do that. It was on one of the previous episodes.
Are you saying I laughed at you?
No, I didn't say you. I said I got laughed at. Mikey B and Jim.
People laugh at you all the time, EJ.
Right. And they said, well, no way in hell they make the playoffs this year because of that. They have too much stinks with the roster. You know, they got a lot of guys.
Their closing schedule was pretty difficult.
And I said, they won't make the playoffs, but if they do, I wouldn't be surprised. I took it over at 8.5 wins.
To your credit, here's where I will let you land the plane here.
Yes.
You did mention that week 18 would be a factor, the way that it was.
Right. The reason why I had to make the playoffs was the same reason I had Buffalo miss the playoffs initially when I said it, because we thought the AFC this year will be a bunch of cluster. But I said I believe in Jim Harbaugh, and this team will be over 8.5 wins because of Jim Harbaugh.
Cited this, right? There were so many disappointing teams and underperforming teams due to injury and various reasons, right?
Right.
People were still trying to sell me the Colts. I told everybody we want to start doing victory laps. I told everybody the Colts weren't going to produce because of physical limitation due to injury at the quarterback position. Nailed it. Everybody tried to sell me the Jets. You included.
Yeah,
I said there is no way
that
Aaron Rodgers delivers a full season. Granted, he played more than I thought he would, but he did not deliver the Jets a full season.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Then Joey Burr, I had said there would be problems. I didn't realize the defense was going to be quite that bad.
I would have gone A before Saturday's game, and then that finish really was just disappointing. And not necessarily them losing the Houston way they lost. And I guess it's something because of the disappointment of everybody picking them to win, and then they just not only just lose, they shit the bed. Yeah, I'm sure some of that in there.
Well, and let me tell you this too. It just got a lot more difficult to make the playoffs next year.
For them or for them?
For the Chargers.
Why?
So I think the schedule next year probably gonna be a little harder, right? The only way it might get better is if the Chiefs three-peat and they start selling off pieces.
Can I say something about the schedule being harder thing?
Yeah.
I get all that every year, but honestly, though, I think it's a little overrated. Let me tell you why. Because
you're wrong, but go ahead.
Let me tell you why. No, I'm not saying it's so apropos, but it's a bit overrated. I'm gonna tell you why. Because we see this all the time. Teams that we saw this year, teams that we thought would be tough this year, and I'm not being tough at all by virtue of injuries or this disappointment, whatever it may be. So those same teams we may perceive as hard next year may not be good next year because of this cycle nature of the NFL. That's what I'm saying.
But because okay, so here's the thing. While there's some validity to that criticism, and again, there's a lot of assumption that all the players that deal with that downfall, the Bengals weren't on the schedule for the AFC West, I don't think.
They played the West this year. Yeah, they did.
Okay. So
they played Chiefs, Chargers, they played them all. Raiders. Yeah.
Well, I know the Chargers did, but I mean, that's a divisional game. I'm talking about the Texans as an example, right?
Okay.
I didn't say that to start with.
Okay.
The Texans didn't have the Bengals on their schedule. I don't think. No, they didn't.
Not this year, no.
But let's say, crap, you're making me do this from the hip because I didn't think you would have this ridiculous a take, so I'm not researched on it.
Which take is that? The schedule thing?
You selling the schedule short because I say this like I'm getting on your case, but I'm not saying
that it's not a thing. I think yes, to some degree. If you're playing the Chiefs next year, if you're playing the teams that are obviously good, yes, that's tough. But there are teams that we may perceive as a hard game, and then next year they may get an injury or they're just underwhelmed. I'm gonna say it's a little overrated. That's what I'm saying.
Well, and to your point, yes, there are some things that have to shake out. But here's what I'm getting at. Next year's schedule for the Chargers might get easier because I believe they play. I'm looking at it now. Okay. For one, they have the Jags on the schedule. They're already looking like they're easier. I get
it. There you go.
But and I'm trying to do the analysis real quick. So they play the NFC East with a Cowboys team that would be presumably improved, a Giants team that will be presumably improved, and then a Red Tails team and an Eagles team that only injury could slow down.
I still see 2 wins there at least, though.
That's not a lot, though. And
That's
again,
still 2 wins, though.
You're assuming
division, though.
You're still assuming, okay, but 2-2 in the division isn't necessarily enough to get you where you want to go. And I think that's what you're overrating, right? And to your point, if you have things break the right way, yes, there's some validity to what you're saying. Now, here's where I will back you. I'm looking at, like I said, I'm looking at it closer here now, and it looks like the Chargers do play the AFC South. So, hey, maybe their schedule gets easier.
So,
but
there's a balance, a healthy balance there.
A lot of it is a die roll, right? And the part that works for your theory is it's not a first place schedule, right? So the bonus games that they're playing, just as the example, the bonus games they're playing being outside of the full divisions that they're playing, right? For those that don't get it, they play their own division. They play one division AFC, one division NFC. Okay, we've established that their NFC division is the East. Their AFC extra division is the South. The other team they're playing is the Dolphins, who could be better next year. It really depends on who is healthy.
People thought that was a tough game this year. And look, they were 500 and 2 was injury hurt.
But the idea is to talk about the next year being, but do you think the Dolphins will be good or better next year? They're a question mark. I'll grant you. And then
Tua, yeah. And
then
next year?
The other team is the Vikings.
That's another one. They're not going to be 14-3 good next year.
Right. But this is less about whether or not the Vikings will be 14-3 again, as we're trying to ascertain the Chargers, whether or not they come back to life and win 11 games again. I don't think they do. Now, is it only 9 or 10, and can they still make the playoffs? Sure, but I don't know. I mean, if they make the playoffs again, it's on the strength of the AFC South being on their schedule.
I think their cap. No, I'm going to go away with you on that one because I think their cap situation improves this spring rather, to where they can actually go after a free agent now. So that
they need more than one guy to
true.
Do that.
No, agreed. But again, I have all the faith in the world in Jim Harbaugh. That's why I separate for the rest of the pack. And the Chiefs may come down the pack a little bit next year. Who knows? Depending what happens.
I like that.
Yeah. You just love that. Yeah. So there you go. All right. Next team here, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, who were end of the year 10-7, 10-8 with a playoff loss, but 10-7.
A B. Down the stretch, late in the season, they did start to fall apart. I think that's clear. What Mike Tomlin has done with this team is the reason they're in the playoffs. You've heard me use this defense before.
Yeah.
For all the idiots out there that keep saying fire Tomlin and they need a new voice and this or that. It's the Marvin Lewis defense. Mm-hmm. The moment the Bengals fired Marvin Lewis because his only crime was not winning a playoff game in the 5 times he got them there. Despite the fact he had the game all but one, but Vontaze Burfict and a few unfortunate calls that should not have, like Joey Porter walking on the field should not have been allowed. Right. Which on that, our friend Mikey Byrne is definitely correct. But firing Marvin Lewis set that franchise back. A thing they had not truly recovered from, in my mind, until they acquired one Joseph Burrow. Right?
Yeah.
So if you jettison Mike Tomlin, what do you even presume to try to replace it with? You think you're going to get Lincoln Riley or something? Shoot.
And that's the thing.
Do you get Doug Peterson? What do you do? What do you do?
And that's the thing, too, also, I talk to Steelers fans about all the time, is that it's about perspective. like I get as a Steelers fan, you're frustrated having the same guy for 17 years, and you.
This is what entitlement sounds like, by the way.
Yes, and yeah, I see the argument there too, also, but it's about perspective. On one hand, you have the perspective of, we have the same guy, we need to change things up, and I can see the value in that to some degree. I could see the value in that to some degree. People compare to Andy Reid. I'm like, no, Andy Reid last year in Philadelphia went 4-12.
Moreover, the moment you're comparing somebody to Andy Reid, you're already in trouble because he's the greatest coach of all fucking time in the league.
Definitely arguable. 4-12 last year, Andy Reid. So the perspective there is that, okay, but you've not had a losing season. So he's getting burned on both ends because, like,
by the way, in the toughest division in football, a thing that regularly gets left out.
Exactly. He's getting burned on both ends. Like, oh, we need a quarterback. You're not bad enough to get a quarterback, which is a credit to Mike Tomlin.
That's a great point. Well, and here's the thing, and this is the one criticism, if made, which I've only seen one person do it after I commented on your Facebook comment, by the way, or your Facebook post, rather.
Right. Mm-hmm.
If Mike Tomlin was part of the reason that they had that they had no exit plan for Ben Roethlisberger, then you have a legitimate gripe. But that is the only crime outside of starting Mitchell Trubisky that he's committed.
My issue with that too also. Here's my thing too also. What kind of plan can you really have if Big Ben's last years, you're still over 500?
Listen, Giants fan, that's a shitty argument because the Giants are in the same place because they didn't have a good exit plan for Eli Manning.
Well, technically it was Daniel Jones, but
bullshit. That wasn't an exit plan. That was a desperation pick, just like Kenny Pickett. I said
it was a moronic pick.
I need somebody there on the bench who you are going to, a la an Aaron Rodgers, a la, I guess, Justin Herbert. No, that was a desperation pick too. I can't think of another example immediately, to be honest, of who an exit plan quarterback would be that was done correctly.
It was the wrong pick. First off, let's go. I mean, we've been saying it for like 5 years now. My point is, though.
Wait, whoa, stop. What was the wrong?
The Daniel Jones was the wrong pick. They made the exit plan
was back to the Giants. Yes, clearly.
No, what I'm saying is that their exit plan was, let's get that guy. Now, that said, that was the plan. The plan failed. That's the point. The plan failed.
There's no plan.
Okay, so if the goal was we need a quarterback for Eli retired. They go get said quarterback. So they executed a plan. The plan fucking failed. That's all I'm saying.
Plan. They didn't. Was Daniel Jones at any point backing up or on the bench behind Eli Manning?
He was for the first couple games of that first season. Yes.
Okay.
And they pulled him for that Tampa game.
Then I guess that was the plan. Fine.
Yeah. The plan failed.
So before it ever got to Daniel Jones, they were still starting Geno fucking Smith.
Correct.
So how much of a plan was it real?
So the Steelers now probably
actually moved sooner is what I'm
saying. And not only
saying.
that, I would argue the Steelers probably seen that shit because the Giants moved up in the draft, which means they gave them assets to get Daniel Jones. Now the Steelers see that, say, well, why would I fucking risk that shit? Why would I risk losing assets for a quarterback that may not even work?
No, that's a bad plan. That's a bad assumption.
My point is,
at some point, inevitably, a quarterback leaves. If the next quarterback's bad, you missed, at least you addressed it, okay? At least it's a player being a bust, and it's a GM's fuck-up, not just a simple lack of organizational planning, which is something for which the Steelers are not well regarded or aren't well known for doing, are bad long-term plans. That's not a Steeler thing, right? Typically.
My point is they don't like trading up in the draft because they don't want to give assets. They like assets and they keep the draft picks.
They don't, but okay, I get that part, but here's the thing, man. Like, they had other opportunities to bring in guys that could have come in to supplant and replace and secede Ben Roethlisberger.
Free agents, right?
No, not necessarily. We see quarterbacks all the time that come out below the first round. Kirk Cousins, for example, 4th round pick, right?
No, they make that move. Does that look that? I mean, we know now was that that's probably a bad move also too. So, look, I
think Kirk Cousins works, and that's a bad comparison because in 2012 they didn't need the quarterback.
Right, 2012 Big Ben was top 5 quarterback in the league.
Yeah,
2020 was the move to do it, but I don't think they identified.
I'd have to go back and look up who was, and no, I think 2020 was too late. right? When did we start talking about we think Ben's going to retire? It was before
2018, 2019, 2020.
Okay, they needed to get a guy then.
Was any guy in the draft in those years that
I'd have to go look it up at this point.
And that's the thing. So the Steelers, so for the Steelers to get the correct you need to fucking suck, Steelers fans.
That's
okay.
No.
And or B trade up
the check.
Or trade up in the draft. You want to trade for Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward? Is he worth trading assets for?
No, at this point, that's not. No, hold on. You're moving the goalpost, EJ Christian. Right?
So what should they do? If you're Steelers, what should they do? Okay, address the problem now because we agree Mike Tomlin should be the coach.
By the way, an example of a guy who was available in 2018, that didn't get picked until 30.
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Demetrius fucking Jackson. So don't tell me there weren't options. A list of quarterbacks drafted before him. Josh Rosen, bust. Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. Now, granted, those are all pick number 10 or higher. I understand that. Okay, but don't tell me the opportunity and the assets weren't there.
Well, I think they did that to fucking ease off Big Ben. But if Big Ben was showing signs of like want to retire, they should have fucking drafted the crap. I mean, hell,
you said as much on your own goddamn show.
The Packers themselves did the same shit with Aaron Rodgers. They didn't give a fuck about Jordan. They didn't give a fuck.
Well, Aaron Rodgers. Because that's I think that's part too because they dealt with what they dealt with Favre. Let's be clear.
Yeah, and it was the right move for the record, given what we know. So yeah,
I mean,
I want B plus. I want B plus anyway because I think the Steelers C plus rather because I think that what hurt me with the Steelers was the finish. C is satisfactory.
Well, I said the same thing, and that's why
had they not faded late in the year the way they did, I would have said B plus, even with the loss last on Saturday. But the fade from December on was very concerning. Now that being said, if I'm the Steelers, I'm bringing back Russell Wilson. I'm bringing him back because he's the reason why you lost that game on Saturday. For the record.
Yeah, I mean there were a lot of things. I feel like injury was a problem. I feel like there was just a lot of excuse me, a lot of overall challenges is what I'll say.
Like I said, it's like I said in the post. I understand the gripe because I'm around Steelers fans all the time, but at the same time, be careful what you wish for because I'm a New York Giants fan.
It's the gripe of an entitled.
Listen to a Giants fan here, okay? Who got rid of a coach who won 2 fucking Super Bowls in a 5-year span, okay? And since then, the last 10 years, Ben McAdoo, Joe Judge, Pat Shurmur, Brandon Daboll.
See, I think Coughlin's an unfair case because he was getting old, dude. It was time for him to step down. Let's be real.
Well, in a moment, yes. In a moment, I saw the argument. But again, careful what you wish for.
That's what makes it worse with Tomlin is for Tomlin to leave, you have to part with him. You don't have an excuse as like the guy's getting old or anything like that with Coughlin. Only the organization can look bad if they get rid of Tomlin and it doesn't go well because the same fucking fans that are all, you need to get rid of him, will be back next season if they don't have a winning season. Forget missing the playoffs. If they don't have a winning season, they'll be all, why'd you get rid of Tomlin? You could read it already, dude. Shoot.
I hate to break it to you. Tomlin's still better than Cowher.
I'm gonna need to ponder
best
that.
To watch. That's a good debate one day. Save for future debate on this podcast.
Because
better coach.
Well, here's the thing: name one quarterback that Cowher had that was better than Ben Roethlisberger in his prime, which Cowher did not have.
Yeah, that's true. That's the only advantage Tomlin has. He has a big Ben in his prime. Yeah, Neil Donald. Yeah, yeah. I guess that helps Tomlin's case a little bit. But I would argue the AFC was much better.
It's less about hurting Tomlin's case than helping Cowher's. Okay, let's remember he got to the AFC Championship game more than once with Cordell Stewart and Jerome Bettis.
That's true. That's very true. But
was it
also
than once? I forget now. Anyway,
at least once. But also in a weak AFC too. Also, to be fair. So
a weak AFC in a world where Peyton Manning exists. Keep trying, sir.
Peyton Manning.
A weak AFC in a world where Thomas Edward, Patrick Bieber, Brady exists.
No. Cowher, not fucking Mikey T. Cowher.
Right.
Okay. Anyway, next team, Denver Broncos, finish the year 10-7.
I mean, how do you give anything else but an A here?
I'm with you, A as well. I'll say the suspense there. Sean Payton, I'm not a fan of him personally, but a coaching magnifique for him this year.
When it comes to evaluating Sean Payton, and I know why you're doing it the way you're doing it, because he treated Rusty the way that he treated him.
No. It goes back to the New Orleans shit with the Bounty Gate shit.
I don't. Well, that's a separate conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
What I will say is there are people out there that do feel the way that they feel about Peyton because of that. And I think the perfect thing is the gif from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He's out of line, but he's right.
Like I said, too, also, I got separated, too. Again, back to we opened the show about, like, analysis of performance versus analysis of liking the person. Hulk Hogan, for example, the Mount Rushmore all time. Well, Hulk Hogan, human being, piece of shit human being. Both me right here. Sean Payton, great coach.
That's a bit of a hyperbole, but I see what
I'm just saying, though. I can separate and have a conversation about how great coach he is versus what person I like.
It's the art from the artist's defense.
That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Again, we can analyze that. You and I are good about that. But yeah, great. Bo Nix. Like I've been a Bo Nix truther since fucking Auburn. So, everything he did this year, I saw coming, and he did even better than I thought he'd do this year. So, and I don't know their cap situation, but this is a great thing about having a quarterback like him. And if you're the Commanders and if you're the Broncos, you're in a great spot here. You know, you're attractive now. You're paying a rookie quarterback for the next 3 years. This is the time to bank on this now, on free agents now. Hit on free agents.
And by the way, you have a defensive star that can help turn things around, man.
Right.
You know.
And again, we talked about the Chargers earlier about the AFC physics. I don't know where things are going to stand after this year with the Chiefs. Buffalo's going to be really good still, I imagine. The Bengals, we'll see how that.
The Bengals bouncing back is a possibility you can't ignore. The Ravens will probably still be good.
Let's say they look.
Steelers, regardless of what they do, will probably have at least one more year where they're a threat.
Right. But there's space for the Broncos to make a splash here. If they can get some add on to that roster, they're going to be a problem in the years to come. So, and again, when you hit on the quarterback early, you have a 3-year window to cash in on competing for championships because of the contracts before you have to pay Bo Nix. So yeah, but A for me as well. All right, next one here, the Green Bay Packers, who finished the year 11-6.
And I know you were somebody that had 6 green toes down, and I have
10 first. 10 first, then when reverse.
You got to 6. I was trying not to give the world the opportunity to call you a fence sitter.
It's okay.
Then you then quoted yourself, fence sitter. This is a hard grade for me because I think I had them. You're gonna make me look it up again, aren't you? I feel like I had them. I had them in the playoffs.
I think they had in the playoffs. I think most people have them in the playoffs. It's a wild card.
Yeah. I'm going to go A- because considering how hard their division got, yeah, you got to give them an A because losing Jordan Love early in the season, if I told you Malik Willis undefeated as a starter, you'd tell me I'm on drugs. Okay. That would be hard to believe. Yeah, I had the Packers 5th seeded.
Wow, I'm surprised when they're high. You're gonna hate my grade.
It's probably because you have a short memory and are punishing yourself.
No, I'm taking the old package though.
So am I. And the fact that they did what they did, still made the playoffs in a tough division. You had 2 teams with 14 fucking wins or more.
True.
Forget it. Yeah, it's an A.
Okay, no, it's a C-. I'll tell you why.
You're a fucking idiot.
Let me tell you why. Calm down.
You're out of your goal.
Kyle, calm down.
Stop.
Shh, Kyle, calm down.
C-.
Here's why. Because number one, find me equality win. Number one, start there. Number two,
I can make the same argument for the Vikings.
True. I'm not playing that. We're going to get there too. Also, for the record, yes, the division was best in the league. We agree. However, they would have impacted that had they beaten Minnesota and Detroit as well too.
But here's the thing. They came back and made both Vikings games close enough to where I feel like they and the Vikings are similar teams by the end of the year.
but one team was already expected to be where they were, and then underwhelmed toward the end, and didn't have any quality wins. They barely skated by Chicago in Soldier Field.
Hold on, this is you contradicting yourself, because with the way that rivalry is as the oldest in the NFL, the physics in that game always get funky.
There's no quality wins there for them, and that's the thing. Also, and that's what concerned me. Is why I kept going back and back on my 10 green toes down to 6, because even when they're winning games all the year, it's like, okay, yeah, but there's I need a win. I need a win that stands out.
But C minus, you have them one tick away from a D in a division where they had 2 14-game winners, man. No.
Can I go C then, maybe?
That's better, but you still sound like an idiot.
Calm down, Kyle. You're okay. C minus it is for me. Okay.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
As I go 10 green toes on C minus. Okay.
Yeah, that's how stupid you sound right now. That's my point.
Jordan Love.
I am trying to save you from you. That's my point.
Don't do that. Let me be me. I like Hawaii.
Let you go down and play.
Jordan Love. I saw a bad stat too also this week. Actually on Monday, that minus RPOs, minus play action, minus screenplays, just dropbacks in the pocket. He was a very average quarterback. Like, he had like 15 touchdowns, 15 picks. His QBR was low. His completion percentage was low. I like Jordan Love. But especially down the stretch of the year, and that playoff game against Philadelphia, not good.
Here's the thing, and I'm going to sound like an asshole for saying this, but this is a stat that there's no possible way you or I have enough information to know what that actually means, right? This is that promo for Masterclass with Neil deGrasse Tyson written all over it, right? You can know enough about a subject. No, you can think you know enough about a subject to think you're right, and then learn enough about a subject to know for a fact you're wrong. That drop back stat is not including a number of things. A, the quality of the defense involving every drop back stat, right? When you're throwing like that, you're usually doing it from behind to catch up, which is interesting because I would imagine those Viking games either caught him, like coming back late, either caught him up and made him look better in that stat, or that stat for those games balanced themselves out because he started out weak and got hot in the fourth quarter. There's that. A, B. When you're dropping back like that in a LaFleur odd offense, it's in obvious passing situations, which again, advantage defense. You're in a bad situation.
Okay.
What I think that is more indicative of is an indicator of Matt LaFleur's offense and it being based on the run, which when you have Josh Jacobs in the backfield, of course you're going to do that. I think this is more evidence of Matt LaFleur understanding what he is and being devoted to a balanced offense than it is an indictment of Jordan Love. I can even, if I want to go full extreme, and God help me if Travis Holmesfield hears this, he'll be very angry from the Duval Dive. This isn't me indicting Matt LaFleur, let me be clear, but somebody could make the argument, who is a Matt LaFleur hater, who took it to the extreme, could make the argument that those instances where Jordan Love was asked to bail out Matt LaFleur is what we're looking at. Because if by down 3, they're in a 3rd and long scenario and it's a true drop back only kind of decision, then the first 2 downs, Matt LaFleur failed Jordan Love somehow by not getting the necessary yardage to run the 3rd and short to continue with that style of offense.
So I found the numbers here. So it was 58% completion percentage, 15 touchdowns, 15 picks.
Slow down, Lorelei. I can't hear you.
By the way, that Gilmore Girls joke is like 6-7 years old now. I just realized that.
You keep fucking doing it. That's not my fault. Continue.
No, so 58% completion percentage, 15 touchdowns, 15 picks, 7.5 yards.
Hold on. 58% completion percentage in drop back only situations.
Right.
And we're supposed to think that's bad.
15 touchdowns, 15 picks, 7.5 yards.
15 picks is terrible, I'll grant you. But how many of those, by the way, are like chuck it up, heave it for life?
Right. He is a gunslinger. He is a gunslinger.
Who on this panel has likened him to Brett Favre?
We both have.
There we
Both
go.
have. Yeah. 7.5 yards per attempt, 77.6 quarterback rating. For context, among all quarterbacks and true dropbacks, that is 26th in completion percentage, 27th in yards passing rating, and the worst TD to interception ratio among all starters.
So again, naturally, who's going to have better numbers for that? Patrick LeVon Mahomes II, right?
Yes. Because GOAT. He's GOAT.
Because GOAT, and when Andy Reid fails on third down, which is rare, they're just going to throw the ball more with Pat. They're just going to throw the ball more with, like, my question would be, what are the attempts? Where does he rank in that? And I'm not here to say that 15 interceptions is golden. I'm not here to say that this is a brilliant stat that we're looking at. What I'm telling you is, in the Packers offense, when they get to that point, something's already gone wrong, and you're asking for Jordan Love to rescue you.
To bail you out, right.
And you don't expect Jordan Love to be that quarterback. They don't ask him to do that.
But they pay him as such, though, I'll tell you that much. So
that's a separate conversation. They pay him the same reason the Miami Dolphins pay Tua, because they believe he can run it better.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. Next team here, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who finished the year 10-7.
So it's funny. We talked about how disappointing the Falcons were last week. You want to know what the Bucs did? Exactly what I fucking said they would. I picked the Bucs to win 10 games and miss the NFC South by a single football game. And that's not what happened, obviously.
Well, they won, but they actually won it, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to go B-. I'm going to go B-. I think they're so tough because they won games they weren't supposed to and did things they were supposed to get past. They were supposed to not struggle in certain ways as well. Like, for one, giving up 2 games to the Falcons. I mean, the Falcons willed them back into the playoffs. Let me be clear, in my opinion. I know Bucs fans may not agree. But also beating, like the college football playoff committee should do, I account for their wins as well as their losses, right? Mm-hmm. And beating the Lions and the Eagles matters. So yeah, I think I'm gonna give them a B.
You said B-, you said B-.
I changed it to B, bitch. What?
Okay. I went C+. Because they did the thing I thought they'd do. They won 9-10 games, and they did that. And they won games. The
loss to Chris Godwin really should account for one more level up. I think.
Right. And I consider B- also too. Also, no, and I consider it too. Also, to be honest, for the same reason, the injuries and them being competitive. In fact, I'll go there B- because again, they navigated that.
And how long were they missing Vita Vea at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, exactly. No, so I'll go B- because you know what, weighing in the injuries too, especially. And not having Godwin, not having Evans for a chunk of the year too, also on top of that, and Baker Mayfield still navigating those waters, almost beat the Chiefs, early in the year too, also in Kansas City, it lost in overtime to them. So they did a thing, but there were some moments this year too, also where some losses they probably should have won, but overall, I think it's another good year for the Buccaneers. Todd Bowles is doing a solid job. I look, obviously the coaching a little bit on Sunday was a little questionable, but bigger picture, I think he's doing a decent job there actually. So I'll give him B-. Why not B-?
I will say this: I can see more grounds for firing him than for firing Tomlin.
All right, and finally, the Minnesota Vikings, who ended the year 14-3.
Yeah, and listen, I know it's easy to shit on the Vikings after 31-9 to close the season to make sure they only had 14 wins, right? Mm-hmm. To a team, all of us still had overwhelmingly making the NFC anyway. By the way, preemptively, no matter where the Lions lose, A+, bitches, okay? So the Rams, we both said on the Student of the Game podcast, were a bad matchup for the Vikings. I'm going to say A because I am going to account for them imploding. But we all had them potentially getting another first-round draft or a first overall pick once we heard JJ McCarthy was going to do what he did. We all thought that Sam was darn old and trying to get a restart. And no, he did his thing. Kevin O'Connell getting Coach of the Year dap that I didn't provide, but others have. They're going to look really silly if they picked him and then this happened, but that's a separate conversation, But yeah, I know at the end of the day, the Vikings did what the Vikings do. At this point, I'm pretty sure the Vikings logo should shave his beard, dye his hair, and change his helmet to a 10-gallon hat because they're starting to look like the Cowboys. But,
Yeah.
I think you have to give them an A based on the beginning of the year expectation of them being the disaster that they were and to even make it to a playoff game. And they're winning other divisions and hosting a playoff game anywhere else, right? So I think all of that factors. I really think a large portion of it is just bad luck with a bad matchup for a team that just was a bad pairing for them. I think, for example, they beat the Red Tails, right? I think they beat any of the other NFC teams that were competing for playoffs at that point. I think they beat the Bucks, who are hosting a playoff game, right? But at day's end, they got a bad matchup. They lost. That stops the A+. They'll just have to settle for a normal A. And if you rank them A-, I'm not mad at that either. That's just where I sit.
Yeah, I did go A- initially, but I feel like you have to remember where they were before the year started. Like you can't go no lower than an A. Like I see the A- argument like as I actually had for a while, but nah.
If you were that scarred by what they did in the postseason, I get it.
Well, that and last week too. Also, that two chances to really change it.
Well,
but
last
at the end of
week
the day, though,
you mean the previous? I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Right, but the fact that you have 14 wins, though, I mean, it's insane. Any other year that they're number one seed probably would at least it's insane.
In a different division, they're
right
a division winner. They're a 2 seed.
Yeah, let's have a conversation about Sam Darnold though, because we said earlier in the podcast that he, and not saying it's his fault, at all, but he did cost himself a lot of money last night.
No, his offensive line did, right?
That too. However, he will be potentially the headliner of quarterbacks for this free agency class.
Here's what I think happens or could happen.
Okay.
The price for Sam Darnold is going to be high. If you want Sam Darnold from the Vikings, you will need to provide at least 2 first-round picks.
Oh, like Lamar Jackson a couple years ago.
Well, that was more due to franchising. Maybe right. And maybe the Vikings do franchise Darnold. That's possible.
That's on the table. That's on the table.
I think it gets too expensive eventually for a team that already has a first-round pick to get Sam Darnold. What I foresee happening quite possibly is a team that's already established, has good protection, and needs a tweak at the quarterback position to acquire him. I'm thinking a 49ers, a Seattle, perhaps
49ers. Interesting.
Yeah. Now, granted, their first round pick isn't as highly valued as it normally would be, so they probably have to throw something else in. I don't know if you do 2 firsts and let's say Deebo Samuel. Not saying that that's what's going to happen, but I'm just throwing shit around here. It's going to take something like that to make that happen. Perhaps even 2 picks and a Bosa. Again, I don't think that's what happens.
I don't see Sam Darnold as even worth trading for in that way.
The other reason it won't happen is I believe the hubris of the front office, not the hubris, the sensibilities of the front office will not bring Sam Darnold back into the fold after he was already on the roster, right?
So if you're the Vikings,
yeah,
because again, you do have EJ McCarthy, who you drafted last year pretty high. What do? Do you franchise Sam Darnold? Do you take on the
you franchise tag Sam Darnold, and you do what the Chargers did when they had this issue with Charlie Whitehurst and Phillip Rivers.
What, Whitehurst or Drew Brees?
No, it was
Whitehurst. It was Whitehurst.
Yeah,
okay.
It was because remember, Phil Rivers supplanted Drew Brees, right?
Right, correct.
And then I think Charlie Whitehurst was next, and they ended up moving on Whitehurst, I believe, right? The punchline is it's that kind of a situation. There's nothing wrong with having McCarthy in tow as trade bait if you need him to continue Sam Darnold's career.
Because I'm wondering if you're the Vikings, and here's the thing: you could afford it because McCarthy's is not getting paid big money yet. But there has to be a clear understanding that at this point, the quarterback room is still up for grabs because McCarthy is the future.
Let me blow your mind.
I assume.
What if the Vikings do business with the Steelers to get McCarthy there? I don't think that happens, but that's the kind of thing that would be on the table, I feel like.
Yeah, but I don't. I mean, he is probably. I would say even with the season Darnold had this year, McCarthy is still probably the bigger asset because of the age. Number one, because I think with Darnold,
being proven matters more in this league than anything else.
No, right, but Sam Darnold, for as great as he was this year, I do think those last two games are going to give teams pause.
Maybe week 18 more than the playoff game. I think actual people who know what they're doing in the NFL, meaning Trent Baalke, will not trade for Sam Darnold.
I just don't think people are going to trade assets for him though at this point.
I see somebody's going to make the phone call. Now, will we ever hear about it? Probably not.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because here's a list of teams that not need quarterbacks currently. I went to the list last night with my boys at the bar last night, and I just realized there's really a small list of teams that actually need quarterbacks right now.
That's not true.
7 teams that directly need quarterbacks, and of those 7 teams,
define need first.
Okay, so let's okay. You know what? Let's go through the teams that I went to last night. I'll say right now, because I went through 7 teams. I saw 7 teams, and of those 7 teams, 2 of them are likely drafting.
You have only 7 teams that need quarterbacks. You're out of your gourd.
Of those 7 teams, the situations though, of those 7 teams. 2 of them are likely drafting Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders.
There's more than 7 teams that need quarterbacks.
Let's run through right now. So, okay.
That's why I asked you to define need. Will they be able to bring in a quarterback? Well, is a set question.
The situation presents it where they can get a quarterback.
So you don't mean needs quarterback.
Let's go.
Have an
right
actual quarterback open.
We're gonna do the exercise right now. Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen's fine. Miami Dolphins with Tua.
We don't know. That's on the board.
It's on the board. Likely Tua comes back.
But they're not gonna go after assets from McCarthy. To your point,
exactly. So likely this out. The Jets, they're possible need.
They're on the table. Yeah,
on the table. The Patriots, they got Drake May. They're fine for now.
No,
they're not gonna give. No,
they're gonna move on from Drake May.
Not right now.
Especially with a new coach in the fold.
I disagree with that 100%.
A new coach that's smart enough to understand that an ACC quarterback was always a bad pick. Sir, you cannot rule them out right now.
Okay, we'll put it on the table. Okay, Ravens, Lamar Jackson. We already know what's going on with that. Yeah. Steelers need a quarterback, probably.
Well, I mentioned the Steelers, and you shat on that, so, you know.
I didn't shut on it at all. I said that's wide open. The Bengals, I think they're okay. Come on. The Browns need a quarterback, but they're going to probably
are stuck drafting one.
Right.
A, because there's the number 2 to pick, and B, they still may not. They may still try to get one in free agency, but the point is, Watson makes that untenable.
I'm making a list here for the record. All right,
I know.
The Texans are fine with C.J. Stroud. The Colts, interesting.
Their statement says that they're not moving on from Anthony Richardson yet. However,
we'll believe him.
However, it's lying season. So
let's put on the board. Put on the board. The Jaguars and Lawrence are fine. I'm not worried about that whatsoever. The Titans need a quarterback, obviously. And they will.
And if they get told not to draft Shedeur, they won't draft Shedeur.
They'll draft Cam Ward. Okay.
No, Cam Ward will be off the table because I believe. Oh no, wait. They're draft. Yeah,
they're number 1.
They're going to pick Cam Ward. Sorry.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
they're going to pick Cam Ward. Sorry.
I think the Chiefs were okay, right? Yeah.
This fucking guy.
So the Chargers, I guess. Herbert. Yeah.
I think
Bo Nix.
Every NFC West team is okay except for Yeah.
Raiders need a quarterback. Okay.
Who I believe will try to jockey for Shedeur Sanders. Separate conversation.
Right. Bo Nix is fine in Denver. All right. Jalen Hurts is fine. Jane Daniels is fine. Dak Prescott, by virtue of the contract, is going to be stuck there.
Correct.
Giants need a quarterback, obviously. All right. NFC North. Lions, Jared Goff, they're fine. Okay, the Vikings are the issue here.
The team in question, right?
Right. The Packers are fine with Jordan Love. Caleb Williams will come back next year. I know.
They're not moving off of him yet. I'm with you.
No, too early. The Bucs are fine with Baker Mayfield. Penix in Atlanta's fine. The Panthers are now fine Bryce Young after his end of the season surge. The Saints are interesting.
The Saints need a quarterback. There's
right.
no middle ground
But
here.
I do think because the market is so thin that Derek Carr coming back to the team is very likely.
It's not that the market is thin. It's because their cap is so fucked.
That too also on top of that. All right. The Rams and Stafford, if he does not retire, as I speculated before the year started. But the way he looked last night, dude, why retire?
Well, I mean
number one,
there's plenty of reasons to retire. Let me be clear.
No. Number one, I did a video on this on TikTok and on YouTube today on my YouTube page. By the way, YouTube.com. Thank you. We agree the top 4 quarterbacks are Burrow, Mahomes, Lamar, Allen. Right? We agree with that top 4. Whatever order we put it in this top 4.
No particular order. I'll let that slide.
Again, if we forgot, number 5 is Stafford. Okay, bye.
What?
Yes,
I don't know, man.
Yes. Quiet.
If you're doing it on talent only, I'll entertain the conversation. You're wrong.
Healthy Stafford is top 5 in the league. Goodbye.
So,
all right.
Anyway,
thank you.
You're wrong. But let's keep going.
Rams, so Stafford's fine. Seahawks and Geno Smith.
Done.
Likely back next year.
I don't think he's
keep an eye.
If they can get a better deal,
you.
They're going to move Geno as part of the compensation.
I don't disagree. I'm saying it's not a lock though, but he's likely back next year.
No, okay, but I think you need to put them on the table, EJ.
No. I am.
Okay.
I am.
The Cardinals, by virtue of Kyler's contract, they're good.
Yeah, Murray, he's staying there. And then the Niners brought Purdy.
Well, I cited them as a possibility, did I not?
So
I don't think they're signing Brock. I just don't.
But he's back next year as a quarterback, though. Is he either week 1 starter next year?
Oh wait, he's still next year's his last year. That's right. So yeah,
exactly. So yes,
that could get hairy. The moment Brock starts hinting at sitting out,
I don't think
holding out.
I don't think he will.
I don't either. The moment he starts hinting at holding out, I think he's done.
Yeah. So we have right now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 situations that are fluid.
I told you 7 was wrong.
I had 7. Well, you added 6. You're fucking crazy. That's why. You added.
I added who?
You're crazy. You added 3.
Why am I crazy? What did I?
Because I said so. Because I said so.
Oh well. So you and my wife both, bitch. Take it.
There you go. No, but that being said, there is a market for Sam Darnold. I just don't see these teams going up and going out of their way to go get him. That's all I'm saying. So, if I'm the Vikings, I franchise him, and you run that one more year with him and McCarthy and go from there. Assess the situation. But I will say this much, though, about the two. There is still a quarterback controversy next year. There's still I don't think Sam Darnold is guaranteed the starting job next year.
You don't think Sam Darnold is guaranteed a starting job? I think that's incorrect.
No. That starting job, not a starter, just that starting job in Minnesota.
Oh,
because they got it. They have to see what happened with McCarthy. They got to see.
No, they don't have to do it next year, though. Moreover, they still don't know what they have. To your point, if they're smart, they're going to do with him what the Jags did with Travis Etienne at the running back position, and that is consider his second year his rookie year essentially, and see what you got.
Right. All right. Well, that's your grades for the wildcard losers in the NFL from this past weekend. All right. Moving on to the next topic here. We won't go into depth because you will have that on your show tomorrow. Who you have on tomorrow on Swing Podcast? Who's on?
I have my dude CN coming on talking about some Lions, and also I've also booked my guy BP Brian Paul to talk Chiefs. So far, I'm working on an Eagles representative, and I'm also trying to line up somebody for the Ravens as well. Maybe I can get my guy from the Gould Klude podcast, Nicholas Jorgensen, to make an international appearance as well. We'll see what happens.
All right. You don't have to give me a prediction, but what is your early feeling on these early games for Divisional Weekend? Texans, Chiefs. You don't have a lock of prediction though. Who do you feel is going to win the game?
If you want a prediction for Bills Ravens, I'm not giving you one because that game is good. That game is deep. I need to see more about Zay Flowers before.
But what are the vibes telling right now on Tuesday as we record this podcast on the Chiefs Texans first?
It's going to be the game of the weekend. That's what my vibes are telling me.
What, Chiefs Texans?
No.
I'm talking about Chiefs and Texans.
Chiefs Texans. Listen, Rex Ryan made the mistake of saying the Chargers had a bye last week. He's wrong because the Chiefs have a bye this week.
Yeah. So okay, cool. What are vibes telling you about the Commanders and Lions?
Man, listen, the Commanders are a great story. It's time to get some kneecaps bit. All right. Well,
the vibes on the Rams and Eagles. That game could be scary for the Eagles, in my opinion.
Yeah, but here's what's different. Where I erred with the Packers is forgetting that their defense is good, not great. That is not what we're seeing with this Rams defense. And Saquon Barkley is going to make or break that game more than Jalen Hurts because I believe the defense will make it difficult. Jalen Hurts will have to have a good third down percentage completion wise. Yeah, but yeah, I got the Eagles pretty dominant in that one too. I think we already know who the NFC representatives are going to be, is what I'm saying.
Okay. Ravens and Bills. Don't have to make a pick right now, but if we had a lean right now on Tuesday,
whoever has the higher time of possession.
Because I'm right now I'm leaning Baltimore. I think of all these 8 teams in the playoffs, if Baltimore plays to his highest crescendo, they have the highest ceiling. Because Lamar and Derrick Henry...
They have the highest ceiling. I also argue that the Bills have the lower floor.
Correct. So,
excuse me, I said that wrong. The Bills have the higher floor.
Right. If Lamar and Derrick Henry get to go off, there's no shot beating this team. Because what they did against Steelers was magnificent. Lamar... dick and dunked early in the game.
I'm glad you said it the way you said it. They both need to go off in that type of a game. If only Lamar goes off, but they supplant Derrick Henry, I think the Bills can stay in it.
But if you notice in the game against Pittsburgh, Lamar, first couple of drives in the game, stretched the field in terms of like his running ability, going off, sideline, all that, wearing defense down. And then you bring Derrick Henry in the middle and punch him up to the wall. Which is
what we said they had at their disposal the moment they acquired Derrick Henry. That clip you keep saying of the 3 Steeler defenders on the one side of the field watching and then seeing Derrick Henry cut through on the other side is exactly what we were warning people about from moment one.
Right. What a monster, huh? That guy is. All right. A couple things to get out of here. Couple of news and notes here. Mike Vrabel, high by the Patriots. Your thoughts?
I mean, probably the worst kept secret in the league, but if you're looking to reset culture or recapture, rekindle fire, I get it. Personally, I think it's a different direction than I would go. I think you need more of a reboot than scratching for the past. But if you're Bob Kraft and you know what greatness was, you're going to try to find it that way. It makes sense. I think the potential for the Titans to look absolutely stupid for realizing that they shouldn't have fired Vrabel in the first place. I never thought he was the problem. Mm-hmm. And in a world where offensive coaches are supposed to run everything, having the bravery to hire a defensive coach to change your culture is everything, right? No, I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
Okay. All right.
I know that's a bit of a fence-sitting take.
I mean, it fits, though. It fits optically anyway.
I need to see more about what they actually do with their offensive skill players before I get excited about anything the Patriots are doing, just because their offense is just such trash.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no talent either, too. All right. And Mike McCarthy, not fired, but the two sides, the Dallas Cowboys and him.
Well, they're not extending his contract, essentially. Right.
So it expired yesterday. McCarthy's not a free agent. Your thoughts? Do you see another job out there?
My thoughts is the only issue I have with it is people out there trying to act like it's breaking news that Deion Sanders might be interested in the job. Fuck off. We all know they were talking about it.
You think it happens? Because we hear about Vegas now, but Now the Cowboys are in the
I'm still in the Vegas camp, by the way. I think it really depends on where either of his sons, biological or by proxy, in the form of Travis Hunter, go. I also think there's part of him that is entertaining staying at Colorado too. I really think he likes shaping young men. I really think that's a big part of it.
I agree.
As somebody who covers a coach in UCF head basketball coach Johnny Dawkins for the Black and Gold Banneret, who really is there to raise young men. I can't rule that out about Dion, and I know a lot of it is his rhetoric. Maybe he doesn't mean it. Maybe he does. I think when he says it, he means it. But I think money talks, and getting that notoriety that he's come addicted to. Not saying it that this is a critique of him, by the way, but there's no man. Listen, Dion in Vegas just makes fucking sense, man.
It does.
Vegas is a city of shows and flash, and if you ain't learned that the motherfucker's name is Prime Time for a reason. Okay.
Why would Dion, knowing how Jerry Jones, and I know they're friends and all this stuff, and
because you underestimate the family air quotes aspect of the Cowboys franchise. It's the whole reason Jason Garrett got the job. It's the whole reason some of the media personalities are what they are, because they used to play. And when you're in the Cowboys organization, they do not let you go.
Yeah, they love you. They love you for life, and I get that.
They love you long time.
But as a coach, though, and if you're trying to,
as a coach coming from outside the building, yeah. But hey, a job's a job, man.
It's not a very attractive. It's not a very attractive job in the same way. It's attractive because it's Cowboys, but you don't get the personnel.
It's attractive because there's only so many of these particular type of vacancies in the world that exist. There are precisely 32 NFL head coaching jobs,
right?
And sometimes to get one, you just can't be that damn picky.
Would you say of the coaching jobs right now between the Bears, the Saints, the Cowboys themselves, the Raiders, the Jags, the Jets that are currently on the table right now, would you say that the Cowboys job is the most attractive?
No, absolutely not.
What would you think is the most attractive job?
I can make an argument for the Bears and the Jags right now.
Not the Raiders?
No, there's nothing attractive about that job.
Saints? No.
Hell to the no. No, and the reason why I say no to the Saints, by the way, isn't necessarily because of the city of New Orleans or anything like that. It's because their cap situation is pure hell.
So, like the Bears, I'm with you a little bit on that because the Bears
also don't have Trent Baalke. So
I don't like their ownership group. They're cheap as shit. But they got Caleb Williams. You know, they have a team with talent they can work with.
They went and got a team. Yeah, they got him weapons. They didn't do it for Fields. So presumably they learned their lesson there. But
I definitely would not put the fuck. The Jets are a disaster. That's the job I would not want Woody Johnson.
Nope.
Hell no.
You don't even know if the owner's going to be owning the team or in the building with his appointment to a Trump cabinet position.
The Raiders are a weird mix for me because Mark Davis is hit or miss for me personally. The Saints cap situation is bad. The Dallas Cowboys only attractive because it's the Dallas Cowboys, but
their cap situation is awful. Their roster sucks. You deal with Jerry Jones.
If you're
literally all the bad from every other franchise that we're talking about, all rolled into one. The difference is the owner and the GM are both Trent Baalke and dealing with the eccentricity of Mark Davis rolled into one, right?
Right. Now, best job.
The Cowboys' job is not a good job right now.
Unless you're someone that just want a paycheck. Okay, the paycheck, go right ahead.
It's not just the paycheck; it's the opportunity. Like guys that coach do it because they love it, and if it's an opportunity to stay doing what you love, somebody's going to take it. Which is not what you want for somebody who is in the Forbes magazine as the most valuable football team in the NFL.
Right. I would still say based on football alone, I would say Chicago is probably the best job. Also.
I mostly because they don't have Trent Baalke. I'm with you on that.
Right. Anyway, Kyle, good show as always. Plug away.
On Enjoy Your Privilege, my friend. Make sure you check out my Student of the Game podcast here, where I will be giving you previews throughout the week. Thank you for your participation, by the way.
One more thing. Here we go.
Yeah.
I've got one thing because it's been a couple of days. Who you got next week in the title game? Notre Dame and Ohio State.
Listen. And I know I'm branded a hater of Notre Dame as much as I'd like to see them supplant the Buckeyes. Yeah, I got Ohio State. I think they just got too much for Notre Dame. This isn't some G5 team that you can roll over or potentially lose to. I'm such an asshole. Nor is this an ACC team. Now, granted, I give credit for Ohio State exposing the Big Ten for the frauds that they are in general as well. Less fraudulent the ACC, certainly. But yeah, I'll take Ohio State here. In an interesting twist, by the way, being the next team to win a new playoff system, they would have done it twice in a row. Of course, you remember when they started the 14 playoff, they ended up with Carnell Jones at quarterback winning.
Remember that guy. Yeah. Remember that guy.
He was excellent in the XFL, right?
Yeah, didn't the Steelers draft him? The Steelers, I thought they drafted him.
Maybe they did, but he ended up in the XFL part.
That was it. That was.
I think it was the Bills. The Bills got him.
Oh, okay. I thought that was an exit strategy. Never mind.
This guy.
I know. Anyway, Kyle, good job as always by you, and we'll see you next week.
Honor, joy, and privilege, man, to come in. Of course, find my stuff, Fans First Sports Network, covering the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Orlando Magic. Of course, my work covering the black and gold banneret with UCF football and basketball. And then also the Duval Dive will be on here sooner or later. Me and my guy, Travis D. Holmes, talking some smack about the Jags. Early mock draft picks came in from Mel Kiper, his first of the year with the first 18 teams locked up. I wrote about that on Fans First Sports Network, and I'm going to talk about that with Travis D. Holmes while we also profile some of the coaching candidates on the show. And then throughout the week, you'll see playoff previews, as I mentioned, on the Student of the Game. So, that's everything. And honor, joy, and privilege, EJ Christian. I will talk to you soon and remind you how good I think Joker is at basketball, as I will be watching Denver play the Magic on Sunday. But until next time, my friend, class dismissed. Thank you.